Give me one unique McDonald's item from New Zealand.
Oh, they've got a kiwi burger. There we go. Yeah. Fried egg and beetroot. They've been making a kiwi burger.
Beetroot? I don't even know what that is, but I don't want it.
Beetroot? You don't know beetroot? Oh, it's awesome, mate. Trust me.
I know what a beet is, and I don't like beets, and I assume a beetroot is worse than a beet. That's...
Can I ask you guys a quick tech question?
This is my show. No.
We'll be the ones that ask the questions around
Exactly.
here. Okay? Stay in line.
Shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
I like that.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 10 of the Technical Difficulties Smart Home Podcast. Today we're talking to Simon Cater of the Simon Says Home Assistant YouTube channel. Now, I'll be honest, I was a little bit concerned about having Home Assistant-focused guests on 2 weeks in a row on this show, but I'm really glad we did because we had a lot of fun during this chat. We talk about his visit to China, we learn about New Zealand and South African accents, we discuss the Coriolis effect on bidet toilets, and, of course, kiwi burgers, obviously. It's kind of like packing a semester abroad into 1 hour-long podcast. Of course, this kind of immense value is only made possible thanks to our sponsor, Zeus. Zeus makes smart home Z-Wave products you can depend on. And right now, you can save big on your favorite Zeus devices during the Lucky Spring Sale at thesmartesthouse.com. From now until March 25th, you'll find huge savings on Zeus Z-Wave switches, motion sensors, relays, dimmers, leak sensors, and so much more, including $50 off the Titan water valve actuator, which is one of my personal favorite smart home devices. Shipping is free in the United States on orders over $99, and of course, all Zeus devices come with a ridiculous 5-year warranty when registered within 30 days. Visit thesmartesthouse.com to see all of the great deals on Zeus products during the Lucky Spring Sale. Again, that is thesmartesthouse.com. And now, on with the show. All right, here we are with the podcast. With me, as always, is Brandon. Brandon, how is Vince doing today?
You know, Vince is doing great. He came over and helped me set up the Yarbo, so I really appreciate him for that.
Oh, Vince, what a guy. And Vince, how is Brandon doing today?
You know, I feel like saying that I helped him set up is probably an understatement. I think I set it up and he watched me set it up.
Yeah, there'll be a video, and you'll see the amount of effort that was put in. I honestly couldn't have done it without him. I just was taking the two rods and just sticking them together like, yeah, this is how that goes, right?
Brandon started at 4 p.m. unboxing. I got there about 5, and he was just finished unboxing and started to break down boxes. It literally took him an hour to take everything out of the boxes.
Yeah, it was 8 giant boxes. They were really heavy and a lot of shit to break down. Plus, it was recycling the next day, so I had to make sure to get everything in there. Otherwise, I had to deal with those giant boxes. But I really appreciate the help.
Well, the best part was his wife.
I appreciate that you did everything.
The best part with his wife driving up, and you could just see the look on her face with everything scattered everywhere in the garage. She's like, am I going to be able to park here?
This is Brandon's MO, though. Like, if he has a project that needs to get done, he invites a friend over and has them do it for him. It's kind of brilliant.
Exactly. Under the guise of creating content.
Right.
I say, yeah.
To be fair, Brandon did come over to my house as I was running Cat 6 cable.
And then we watched him have his children do all the work while I supervised. I'm good at the supervision, right? Like, I've got ideas. I'll encourage you to make holes in your wall.
Like, I don't know if this goes to the outside. I don't know if I should drill here. He's like, just go. Just do it.
For it.
Just
yeah,
try. There's only one way to find out. And so when I want to get into Home Assistant, I'm going to have Simon come all the way over from New Zealand, and he's going to set it up for me because I don't know shit about Home Assistant. Let's be real. I don't even know why you guys have me on this one. I know nothing about Home Assistant.
Oh, well, you know how much I love Home Assistant. But yes, our guest today is Simon from the Simon Says Home Assistant YouTube channel. Simon, say hello to all of our friends out there, the thousands, the millions of people that are excited to see you on our podcast.
I like that. Awesome. It's really great to be on your show today, guys. It's just fantastic. I'm just fizzing about home automation. I think 2025, we're going to see some super awesome stuff. One of the things I've been playing with recently is local voice control. And it's not anything near Miss A and the other crowd, but I think it's going to come a long way. So, great to be on the show. And, look forward to an awesome time.
Well, we're happy to have you on. And right before the show, he told us that he actually, for his real job, he runs a podcast for his real job, and that made me a little bit nervous. I like the idea that maybe we were going to have a little more control over this. Maybe someone's going to look a little bit less professional than me, but apparently Simon is here. He's going to make me look like a fool. like everyone else does. So yeah,
Not
thanks
really that hard.
I know.
Not
I
at
know.
all.
So we actually were introduced to Simon through a past guest on the show, Michael Lean. And I saw you guys did like a live stream where you were talking about the local voice control stuff, and it was way over my head, but I think it's neat. How the heck do you do that? How do you get local processing to do all these large language models?
Well, the guys at Home Assistant have spent a long time on this. They've, I think there was Year of the Voice, and then there was the next Year of the Voice. So it's sort of been a long process. So they started off developing a voice recognition tool, a speech tool, a wake word tool, and it was all coming together, but the hardware was really flaky because they were relying on various other providers to do the hardware. And then just recently, I think it was December 2024, they launched this Voice Edition preview, which is their own little hardware device. Yep, I think it's amazing. I mean, it's really not anywhere near what you're going to get from the traditional ones, but it's actually able to process a local voice recognition. You can also go up to the cloud. So Home Assistant has its own cloud called Nabukasa. And if you've got a paid subscription with them, you can actually go up to the cloud, which will offer you quicker processing.
So are you prior to this local voice consistent control, have you been a big voice assistant proponent? Do you use it a lot in your home?
I was using voice originally. When I first started, I connected up Miss A, and I was playing around with that quite a bit. And then something changed so in order to connect the Miss A to Home Assistant, you have to go and create a developer password. And something went wrong with that developer thing, and I just gave up on it. So I was playing with voice, and then I didn't for a while. And then once the local stuff came in, started playing with it again. So yeah, I'm sort of on two different sort of views of voice control. I believe that ideally home automation should do things automatically without having to tell it what to do. But then again, I really like the integration of the AI in the background. So when you start bringing in, Google's Gemini or whatever, and you can actually start having really smart conversations and finding out what's going on in your home automation system, that's when it gets really fascinating. So yeah, I think there's some really interesting stuff to come. And for me, it's much more interesting actually doing it within the actual infrastructure of Home Assistant locally, rather than sending your data out and relying on this third party that who knows what they're doing with it.
I watched Michael Lean's video on he went and compared all of the voice assistants, and he kind of proved that they got a long way to go to kind of catch up to the other systems with Amazon and with Google. So we'll see where that leads us and where that takes us. Kind of give us a little more background about yourself. So what inspired you to start your Simon Says YouTube channel?
So I'm going to go right back to back in the 80s when I was a kid. I remember I don't know if you guys have ever seen that clap system for turning lights on and off.
Yeah. Clap
the
on.
clapper. Yeah, that's the one.
Did you have that? By the way, was that commercial? Was that in New Zealand?
Commercial.
The same commercial with the song?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, beautiful.
I don't know about the song.
The one I just sang. They didn't have the clap on, clap off, clap on, clap off, the clapper.
You may have to put in the commercial into the.
I'll see what
into the.
Okay, Vince and Brandon, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that was big.
Like an infomercial.
Exactly, it was amazing. But yeah, go on with the clapper.
So the clapper, that's where I got started. Okay.
Clap off, clap on. Was it Australia? I got it. Or no, New Zealand. Go. I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
You got it. That was in South Africa, actually. I grew up in South Africa. I moved to New Zealand 20 years ago. So, the clapper.
Are you friends with Elon Musk?
Elon Musk, that's the one. Yeah.
Did you go to school with him? You guys buddies? So he send you $1 billion every once in a while to go, hey, no? Okay. All right.
Clapper was my start, and started playing around with electronics, and then I sort of gave it a miss, and I just moved in another total direction. And then about 5 years ago, I moved into a new home, and I started sticking in some of those smart LED RGB light bulbs. and I got Miss A, connected the two up, started playing around with it. I thought it was awesome. And then I just started watching heaps and heaps of YouTube videos, and I found this thing called Home Assistant. And I found out that my IT manager at work was using it as well. So that just really excited me. Pulled out my old Raspberry Pi, stuck it on an SD card, and yep, that was where it all started. About a year later, I thought, why the heck don't I start a YouTube channel? I'm watching all of these videos. I make videos at work. Why not just do them for myself? And that's where the channel kicked off.
I think like your pathway is very similar to a lot of the other creators that we talked to. It's like it starts with getting a new home and then wanting to do all these things, and then all of a sudden you're going deep down the rabbit hole on YouTube, and it's like, well, why don't I do this for myself? Or you can't find the information you're looking for, so then you create it for others, and so that's really cool.
Yeah, it's been heaps of fun, and my biggest fun about it all is engaging with other people. These live streams that I'm doing now with other creators and some of the manufacturers is just amazing. It's just, that for me is what it's all about, is actually engaging. I love doing live streams, getting my audience chatting to me, asking me questions. And that's for me, it's that connection with people across the world. Last year, I actually went over to China and visited one of my manufacturers over there, Reolink. And it's a really fun game.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty incredible opportunity. How are you finding the guests that you're bringing on for the live stream?
I just basically, it's people that I've watched on YouTube, So when I first started watching, I was watching guys like Dr. Z's. I mean, that guy's the absolute legend live streamer. I don't know if you've ever seen him. He's a anesthetist. That's why he calls himself Dr. Z, but he does absolutely crazy stuff with home automation, Home Assistant, and WLED, all the colored LED outdoor lighting stuff. So I just found these guys, and then I literally messaged them. I find these days you can message anyone in the world, and they're actually quite keen to respond and get on board. It's crazy.
For those that are watching or listening, we're in the United States. He's in New Zealand. It's 6 o'clock in the morning right now where Simon is, and that's crazy to me that you are more wide awake and chipper than I am, and it's almost noon where I am. So you're doing these live streams, like you said, all around the world. You're doing them in Europe. You're doing them here. Is this like from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m.? That's my streaming time, and that's just like a normal part of your life? Because that sounds horrible. No offense, but
my normal streaming time is 10. Funny enough, 10 a.m. works really well. I seem to get the US audience, but I get quite a big audience from Europe as well. So I get Sweden, I get South Africa, everyone seems to be able to sort of tee up at my time. 10 a.m. in the morning seems to work for everyone.
By the way, I do want to ask you, so you're New Zealand. You said you started in South Africa.
Yeah.
Then you moved to New Zealand. When I just saw you, I didn't know, just from watching your videos, I assumed you were from Australia because your accent. How do you get a New Zealand / Australian accent by growing up in South Africa and moving? Like, what? I don't know. I'm not cultured enough to know what a South African accent sounds like. But did you just change? You're like, screw it, I'm here. Let's go for it.
For 20 years, man.
I know, but I feel like I wouldn't have a French accent if I moved to France. Like, I don't know. Maybe I would. I don't know.
After 20 years, I'm pretty sure you would.
Would you? I don't know. There's people like I know Australians that live here and they still sound Australian and they've been here for most of their life. So I could be wrong. Do you feel like if you listen to yourself, Simon, from 20 years ago, would you sound remarkably different, or
I would sound pretty different? Yeah,
okay,
totally. But if I speak to people here in New Zealand, they pick up I'm a South African immediately.
Really?
So I've got enough of a South African accent to make it very clear to local Kiwis that I'm a South African. But yeah, I mean, obviously you guys in the US, you're on obviously different accent, and yeah, accents are crazy. I mean, I lived in South Africa, then I lived in Dubai, I've lived in the UK a bit, and now NZ, so real mixed bag,
Wow, yeah, you lived in Dubai and everything. Okay, so I don't know if you're a sports fan at all, but I know that the cricket and the rugby very big in South Africa and in New Zealand. So do you like still pull for South Africa, or do you not care? Do you pull for New Zealand, or do you just not into that sort of thing?
I'm not hugely into sport, but yeah, if it's a big rugby game, I would still go with South Africa. That's my roots, man.
Someday we're gonna get a guest that is into sports, and then I'm gonna Brandon is just gonna shut down.
Go sports.
Yeah, nerd out. But no, that's cool. That's cool.
All right, can you give us your best South African accent? Is it similar? Because it was a British colony.
Now I've got to try and it's sort of, instead of yes, you're saying ja, which is the Afrikaans word for yes. I can't even do an accent now. Now you put me on the spot.
I just wanted to know. I was trying to give Pete some more culture so then he knows what an accent from South Africa is. But I was also intrigued as well. We'll just give you like a statement to say, like Mary Poppins is the best woman I've ever met. And then, all right, so go.
Mary Poppins is the best person I've ever met. No, I'm used to such accents.
It still sounded the same to me. I don't know,
exactly.
guys.
I don't know.
What do you think are the most overrated or underrated smart home devices today currently? And I know that you probably have some different devices than we probably do, just different companies and things like that. But
I would say that I'm very much on the same devices as you guys. I mean, basically most of my gear comes out of China, most of the devices that I'm playing with. What is the most overrated? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, at the moment, there's a whole lot of different devices that I use, because obviously every week I'm testing 2 or 3 new devices. So I just have this absolute overflow of devices. So if we look at categories, I mean, lighting is probably the most standard and the most everyday you use lighting. For me, sensors are really cool. Sensing presence, sensing temperature, humidity. So that's really great. So overrated, I mean, cameras are cool in a way, but I don't use the cameras that much, maybe because I don't really have major security problems where I live. It's hard to say. They're all heaps of fun, to tell you the truth. Anything that I can connect to something else via Home Assistant, I enjoy. So yeah, I don't think there really is an overrated product. I think
I would disagree. I think all of us would say, I feel like all of the 3 of us would say on the podcast that probably like the smart faucet is probably the most overrated product in the market. You guys agree?
Okay.
Yeah, I've never had.
I don't even think it's highly rated. I don't think a lot of people even know about the smart faucet.
You can ask Miss A to turn your water on for you, or to, like I want a gallon of water at 97 degrees Fahrenheit, by the way.
It's like a party trick at best.
I would say the most underrated would be a bidet toilet. Simon, do you have a bidet toilet?
No, but I did try one in China. When I went to China, they have these awesome toilets. You walk up to, the lid opens, you sit down, gives you nice warm water to wash with. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I will be upgrading my toilet one of these days, and probably not.
So which way does the toilet swirl down?
Yeah,
in New Zealand,
I'm southern hemisphere. So isn't that anti-clockwise in southern?
Anti-clockwise? Is that how you call it? Anti-clockwise? We're counterclockwise people. That's how we know it is counter. Okay, interesting.
One of these days, we're going to have a bidet sponsor on the channel, and it's going to be awesome. Every guest will get a bidet, and we'll talk about how great it is.
I'm just on a journey to educate the entire U.S. population that wiping your butt with paper and walking away like you are 100% clean is not the way to go.
Tell us more about this trip to China. Like, how did this come about? You went and visited Reolink. Did they reach out to you and invite you, or how did this go down?
No, I don't think I'm quite at that level yet, but I just thought, I've been dealing with all these companies in China, and I thought, well, why not go there? I was going to Bangkok for a bit of a holiday in Bangkok, and the airline was stopping over in China on the way. So I thought, well, why not? Shenzhen is sort of the capital of the tech world in China. So I thought, let me just pop in there and go and have a look. And yeah, it was super interesting, but it was certainly pretty challenging being an English person in a Mandarin-speaking country with virtually no English spoken people at all. You might come across one or two, but in general, there's no English. So that was the biggest challenge for me. Plus, everything is different. So even Google Maps, you would assume that Google Maps works around the world. Truly, it does not. I got in the taxi, I had my Google Map on. You know the story, you always wonder if the taxi driver's going to drive you, 100 Ks around to get a 10K zone. Had my Google Maps. I was like, you're going the wrong way, you're going the wrong way. And it turns out Google Maps doesn't even work in China.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was crazy. So I'd seen this thing called the SEG market, which is apparently this big market where all these product manufacturers have their little stalls and you can go and see meet everyone there. So I went along, stayed in a little hotel, eventually found where I was going, managed to get to SEG market, walked around there. In hindsight, I would have set up a lot more meetings, one-on-one meetings. I assumed just going to the SEG, I was going to find all these home automation companies there, but I didn't really just bump into any of them. So I had set up this meeting with Reolink prior to it. They were just amazing. They spent 3 hours with me. They absolutely showed me exactly what was going on. It was just they're fantastic people to deal with. They speak English, which is a big help. But yeah, if anyone's going to China, I would definitely pre-plan your visit, book in the appointments with people that you can actually meet with, because otherwise, yeah, you can waste a lot of time.
I just can't imagine going there without having like a guide or a translator. It'd be so overwhelming. At least with other countries, they're like semi-close to English, or like a lot of the population speaks English as well. But to go somewhere where like they just don't would be very intimidating. So kudos to you for going through that experience. That sounds awesome.
It's cool dealing with these people that are actually making these amazing products. I mean, I come up with all sorts of, I really like looking for different stuff. You know what I mean? Like, this is a really cool board that you can basically control everything. It's got ESP Home that you can load into there, and you've got basically 8 inputs that you can monitor, wired inputs. You've got 8 outputs you can control. You can connect up about 6 temperature humidity sensors. You can connect. It's got RF control. It's got just absolutely everything. These sort of things are what I enjoy, finding different stuff that other people are not talking about. And this is a small tech manufacturer in China that does these sort of boards. This is what I enjoy, looking for things that not everyone else is talking about.
So, like, what would you, like, give me a specific use case for something? Like, I would see that and my brain would melt. I don't know what to do with something with a board. I need it to be in a package that says, this is what you do with it. Like, what do you do with a raw board?
So that specific board, I think a really cool use for it, and I did a video on it recently, is if you've got an old alarm system in your house. So you've got all these PIRs and door and window sensors all wired up to a panel. But you've got this old outdated panel that all it does is connect to the alarm company. So I would rip all of that out and connect all the wires up to this device, download the Alarmo add-on in Home Assistant, and then you've got your own custom-built wired alarm system.
So how much did that board cost? Just curious.
So I found a cheap, this is the latest version they've just sent me, but I first of all found a cheap version that was literally around $30. It's pretty crazy money, US dollars.
Yeah, okay. So there's a company called Connected that has a full product that does what you're talking about, but I think that's a $99 product or something. So look at the savings.
Like, what is your process for testing those products and then adding those or putting them on your channel?
So once they arrive, unbox them, have a good look at the device, plug it in. I'm someone, I don't read the instructions. That's just me. I just plug it in.
It's your guy.
And see what happens. So
you're speaking of my language here. I like it.
I literally chuck that thing and I just start playing with it. Sometimes I blow them up, but that's what I do. Literally plug it in, see what happens, try and connect it to Home Assistant. That's my big thing, is will it connect to Home Assistant? That's the big test that I want to see, because once it's in there, I can access all the data, play around. So I just connect it up, play with it, try and break it, and then make a video.
Okay, so how long are you testing it for? What is your documentation process like for when you're testing the products? And then how do you translate to video? Are you creating scripts? Are you gathering B-roll as you go? Do you go back and get that? Kind of walk us through that whole process.
Mine is a really ad hoc process. I've tried the scripting route, and I just found it takes a lot of time, and you also lose some of that sort of spontaneity on camera. So literally with my channel, there's no documentation. I literally pull the device out, figure it out, and then as I'm going, I'm filming B-roll as I'm going, and then I have all these clips, stash them together and stick the video up. So it's a simple process. I'm more of a quantity over quality, to tell the truth. I don't do all these high sort of high budget sort of video shots and stuff like that. I'm just trying to give people a raw idea of what this product is, introduce them to products they don't know, test it out, see if it'll connect to Home Assistant. Yeah, it's a really simple process, to tell the truth.
So you're saying you wouldn't put a bluegrass banjo video at the end of your any of your videos? Probably not.
I'm up for anything.
So you're very prolific. Did I say prolific?
Prolific.
You can say it like, see, I'm talking to someone from New
Struggle
Zealand
is
with a
real.
South African accent, and it's blowing my mind. I can't say. So that word that I just said, you make a lot of videos in a short amount of time, like you said, like you do a few videos a week, oftentimes. How long does it take you?
294 videos in 2 years, man.
I know,
Yeah.
I know, and they're not shorts. I mean, they're like regular videos. So how long does it take you to make a video? You say you're doing it without a script. Like if I did a video without a script, it would take me 4 hours to record because I stumble over my words and don't know what I'm talking about. So you must be pretty good at that. How long does it take you to produce a video from I'm going to do this to I'm finished?
So literally the shortest video I've recorded would have taken me less than an hour, but some of them would be way longer than that. You know, sometimes you'll get a product and it's quite a challenging thing to actually get it working, and then to try and get across what you've done and what it's actually doing. So I would say anywhere between an hour and probably the longest would be probably 8 hours, but that would be very few would be 8 hours.
Have you had any unexpected like viral videos that you kind of were just throwing out there and didn't really expect anything, but got pretty good quality or a pretty good response from it?
Totally. So literally the second video I ever did is probably was the top video of mine for about a year and a half, and I couldn't manage to actually replicate it. And it was, I think it was because it's quite different. So I used to live in a rural part of town, and we didn't have town water supply. So we had these big 22,000 litre tanks. And come summertime, it gets real dry and the water runs out and everyone's freaking out and you got all these water trucks. Most people go along every day or every second day and lift up the lid and see what they've got there. Or you can go and spend, 250 New Zealand dollars and get this system. So I ordered this a little sensor. Basically, it's a diaphragm-based sensor that you chuck in there, and it basically measures the pressure. And then I hooked it up to a Shelly Uni and connected that up to Home Assistant, and I showed basically a little gauge of how much water was in my tank, and I could then send myself alerts when it was running low, and literally that video went crazy.
Do you think it's because it's like a how-to and you had come up with something like unique that people were interested in?
It was pretty unique. There's one guy in Australia that I actually watched a video and learned how to do it from. So he'd done that video probably a year before I did mine. So there was literally his video, and then there was one other guy that had done it with a little bucket. And literally it was the three of us with this one type of video. And yeah, just a huge amount of interest. Literally, people just loved that video for some reason. And it was my second ever video. It was a real surprise to me and a real frustration to try and replicate that again.
And I feel like with Home Assistant, the audience is a little bit more DIY focused, so you're not going to run into like with the major channels when they all feature like the newest whatever and it's all under embargo, and then Thursday comes around and it's 10 videos from the biggest creators all on the same new lock or camera or something, and they're all kind of competing for that. With this, it's more of a smaller audience, and so if you can get technical and really show them how you're using it, you'll get a lot more views. Do you find that a lot of it is like search driven, or are you getting people through browse, or just your subscriber base? How are people finding the videos?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Most of my video views are from, search based in YouTube. So I think people are putting in a certain problem they've got, like, for example, water tank level measurement or something like that. And they're finding my video based on that because, a lot of my focus is how to. So I've done some basic setup videos. I was Home Assistant. I've also done some basic building of sensors. So taking an ESP32, wiring in a DHT22 sensor and building your own sensor. I find that super fun. For me, that they've got this ESP home thing that you can just flash onto ESP32. That is super exciting, and those do pretty well as well.
So do you like doing the the tutorial videos more, or do you like doing the product reviews, or do you just love doing everything involved in everything? You seem like a guy that loves everything, so.
I love everything, pretty much. I mean, I just did a video on the latest release of Home Assistant. Those go crazy. I mean, I got 3,000 views in a day and a half.
How do you come up with ideas for new videos? And how do you decide which ones to make? And then what's the process for creating your thumbnails, things like that?
So literally, I thought when I started my channel, I thought, oh man, this is going to be hard to come up with ideas. But literally, it's not the coming up with ideas. It's actually trying to make them fast enough, because the ideas are literally flowing. So I've got a number of ways that I do it. I get a lot of manufacturers that approach me. So literally just out of the blue, I get emails coming in. Yep, we've got this product. Do you want to test it out? So a lot of them come from that. Obviously, I follow Home Assistant pretty closely. So I do all their release videos. I do anything that comes out new. So like voice or whatever. I just follow, and I'm always looking at YouTube, see what other people are testing. So literally, that's how I come up with ideas. Super easy. When it comes to thumbnails, that's probably my weakest point. You asked what I don't enjoy. I am useless at graphic design. I
don't know, man. They look pretty good.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. You got the text. It's got your face. It's easy to tell what it's about. I think you're onto something here.
Oh, well, I appreciate your support. So literally, I found Canva. I just chuck stuff together on Canva and I put it up. I've had a few guys approach me about doing thumbnails. I've tried out a few of them, just the cheaper ones. I haven't gotten the super high-end ones, but literally the guys will do a thumbnail and I'll put it on the side-by-side tester on YouTube. And sometimes I'm a real afterthought. Apparently you're supposed to do the thumbnail first and then everything flows from there. Mine is like I basically edit the video, hit the button to process it, and then in that time, so I've got 2 minutes or whatever, I'll put the thumbnail together and stick it up.
I'm the same
real
way.
quick on
I
that.
outsource, so I throw it on like Fiverr, but then I'm impatient. I'm like, I'm going to hit publish before the thumbnail's even done.
I'm with you there
Then we
totally.
got Pete over here. He just agonizes over the thumbnails. He'll spend like an hour on a thumbnail.
I agonize over everything. It's my biggest problem with YouTube. Simon. Okay, this is a personal question. How do you get over the overanalyzing? Like you said, you just go. I'll change things over and over and over again. So how do you get over that? How did you just be like, I'm just gonna post it and see what happens?
I think it's just my natural personality is that I'm a doer in life. I basically go out there and I do stuff. I do not procrastinate. It's just my nature, quantity over quality. And then I've been in sales all my life. I've sold all sorts of different stuff. And it's always been, you make the numbers. You know what I mean? If you put the numbers out there, something will happen. And that's what I've done with YouTube. Literally just make the video, and I'm super excited like you, Brandon. I just want to hit that button, man. I want to hit that button.
The spray and pray method.
Exactly. I think that's a salesperson mentality for sure. Yeah. I was actually just telling Pete this yesterday. I was like, I think you're better off doing 100 shots on goal than trying to, ready aim fire and only take 10 shots. I'm going to go with the shotgun approach of like, let's just do it and see what works.
But you're always one mistake away from everybody in the world losing all their respect for you. That's the problem.
That's okay. People are like goldfish, man. They're going to forget. How do you find all the time to do the testing, to play with the stuff, to record it, and to do like 3 hours a week in addition to your full-time job? And it sounds like you are doing podcasts for that as well. So like, how do you balance all this?
I'm pretty much focused on work. So I basically, as I say, I wake up super early. I'm often up at 4 a.m. And my schedule in the morning is go through all my emails for my podcast, for my Home Assistant channel, go through all my emails, go through all my comments on YouTube, try and respond to as many comments as possible. So I'll spend probably 2 hours in the morning. Then I'll go to work, 8-hour day at work, get home, and then, back into it, eh? So,
so you obviously enjoy the grind, right?
Yeah, I enjoy it.
You're clearly passionate about it. And earlier, before we hit record, you were talking about your day job. Like, tell us a little bit more about that.
So I work for an amazing company called ProClimber. It's a German company, and we developed what's called a smart air tightness membrane. So smart vapor control and air tightness. So effectively what it does is, first of all, it stops that internal moisture inside your house from going into the wall and the ceiling framing and causing mold and condensation. And second of all, what it does, creates this airtight envelope inside of your building. That means you've got energy efficiency. So you're not just leaking that energy out. So, I work with architects, designers, builders, engineers. We help them design in the system. We go out and train the builders on site. And as the podcast is on the side, is where I interview, building scientists and engineers and architects around the world and engage with them and share that with my audience.
That's fascinating. So do you primarily do that for education purposes for the audience, or is it more of a relationship building tool? What's the goal with the podcast?
It's a bit of both. The real goal, so the initial goal is, so we spend a lot of time with architects, more now with builders as well. But our big thing in New Zealand is an interesting country. We basically live in it's basically like a tent. We only had insulation introduced 1978. So prior to that, the house I live in was built with no insulation at all.
Wow.
So we've been almost 20 years in New Zealand with ProClimber, and it's a challenge to actually get that concept of let's do a really high performance build. We obviously have high building costs at the moment as well, so that's another pushback. But the goal of the podcast was to get in front of individuals sitting in their home and actually get them to understand that, wow, I'm going to build this house, and let's not just build it to standard code because it's going to overheat, it's going to be cold, it's going to be miserable. Let's build with something better. So that was the idea, is to get into each and every homeowner, 5 million people in New Zealand.
I'm not familiar with the climate of New Zealand. If you live in tents, like you said, basically, what's the climate like where you live?
So climate's variable. So we're a long, slim island. So I'm in Auckland. It's pretty mild. So we would probably go down to a minimum of about 5 degrees. Maybe we hit 0.
Don't go Celsius on me here. I need.
I don't know. Fahrenheit.
Conversion's so easy to do.
But then we've got the South Island where they've got, it's alpine conditions in Queenstown. So we got everything.
So 5 degrees Celsius is your low, which is above freezing
in
here.
Auckland.
In Auckland, right? Auckland, sorry.
Auckland. You see, there's the South African coming out. It should be Auckland.
Auckland. There we go.
There we go. I'm getting the accent at last.
So it gets chilly, but it doesn't get cold. You're not getting snow. You're not skiing in the winter and things like this. Not
in Auckland. In Queenstown you would, but not in Auckland. So the interesting thing is that you get people coming from Canada living in New Zealand, and they say they're the coldest they've ever been because they're used to living in a house that has a central heating system. Here in New Zealand, there's no central heating. So my house in winter, it might be 13 degrees inside when I wake up in the morning.
Speaking of Canada, I'm interested. Is New Zealand like Australia's Canada?
Yeah.
Okay, you feel...
There's a real argy-bargy between New Zealand and Australia, totally.
Interesting. So is Australia going to make New Zealand their next state?
They would love to, I'm sure.
your day job, you've been doing the podcast, using some of those same skills and the same setup for your live stream. How are you identifying guests? I know you said you enjoy collaborating with, creators and brands.
So I'm just always basically researching. The moment I open up YouTube, I'm researching. And those are where I'm finding pretty much everything is YouTube is my search engine. So every day I go in there, I put Home Assistant, I put home automation, and I basically link up with every single creator that's creating Home Assistant content. So those guys, those are my leads for basically doing these live streams, getting people on, getting them together. And then there's the manufacturer side. I mean, I've got guys that I've been working with for a while. I don't know if you guys have, you guys know Apollo Automation. They are from Kentucky. They are two guys, Trevor and Justin, started about a year ago building sensors, air quality sensors and millimeter wave sensors in their basement. I think they sold 70,000 sensors in their first year. I think that's the number they told me.
Well, good for them. I've sold 0 sensors in my 2 years on YouTube.
I don't want to sell anything.
Wow. As a salesman, that's impressive that you don't want to sell anything. Yeah. I am curious. So you're talking about, you said you follow all the people who, your YouTube is your search engine. Who are the top YouTube creators that are coming up in your search regularly? And have I ever popped up in your feed, the DIY smart home guy? And it's okay. I will not be insulted if the answer is no.
I've seen your podcasts. I've certainly seen these podcasts pop up, without a doubt. But I haven't seen. Have you got a personal channel as well, Pete?
It's the same channel. I put the podcast on my.
Yeah. No, your channel's certainly come up. So it's quite interesting.
Notice he didn't say he watches them
for quite a while. Sorry, were you saying something?
I said, notice he didn't say you watch them. Like, oh yeah, they pop up.
No, I don't watch them, of course.
No, I'm just joking. Just joking with it.
So I'm just amazed at the people that pop up. So obviously the traditional ones that I used to follow was guys like Dr. Z. Have you guys seen Dr. Z?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That man's a legend. So I found guys like that. But and then there's really big. I don't know if you've seen. I think the guy's called Network Chuck. Have you seen him? He's got a pretty big channel.
I have seen him like one time. He popped up recently, and his video had like 2 million things on it. I'm like, who is this dude? I've never seen him before. And all of a sudden, like, I see this guy with 2 million views.
So he's just started doing Home Assistant videos, which is awesome. Then you've got guys like Reed and that are doing this sort of ultra high quality, more sort of not so much technical, but more sort of walking around their house. They've got this big flash house and showing off how things are happening and all that sort of stuff. So there's quite a few of those guys. They seem to have huge numbers of followers. And then you've got other guys that are all about the comedy. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting bunch of people out there.
The Paul Hibberts of the world, and
Paul Hibbert, that's the man.
Pete's aspiring. He's not quite YouTube level, but he'll get there eventually.
It's such a cool community, and I love when the new ones pop up, like Michael. Michael's awesome. So I met Michael probably over a year ago when he's just starting his channel. I did an interview with him. It was super cool. I mean, that guy's going places, eh?
Yeah, he's awesome. We got a chance to meet in person out at CES. We hosted a creators dinner, which was a ton of fun, and then got him in the Slack channel. Now I'm trying to convince him and his wife to move to Minnesota, so we'll see.
Oh, man, I'm so jealous. That catch-up meetup at CES looked awesome, eh?
I thought you were jealous of him moving to Minnesota, possibly. Is that not what you're...
Well, if you come to CES next year, we're going to do it again. So there you go. Start planning now. You've got a few months.
Yeah, I got to try and be there, man. That looks fantastic. Hey, it's
definitely the highlight of the show for me each year. I was just hanging out with fellow creators and geeking out about some of the stuff and going through the process. And that's honestly like kind of what prompted us to do this podcast, where we're interviewing creators like yourself, because it's fun to we're all doing kind of the same thing, but a little bit different. So it's fun to compare notes.
It's super fun, man. I reach out to basically every creator that I see, and I ask them if they're interested in coming aboard. Some you just don't hear from. Others are super keen. Bearded Tinker, I don't know if you've seen him. He's a cool dude as well. There's everyone is just so different, and they're doing everything in their own little way. I'll tell you something interesting. So when I was growing up, honestly, my big thing was I wanted to be on TV or radio. That was literally my goal when I was growing up. And of course, back in the 80s, it was, I did TV ads and stuff like that. But that's as far as you can go. Literally your chance of getting on the network is pretty limited. So when YouTube popped up and podcasts, I was like, man, it's my opportunity.
Yeah, well, you're making it work, and that's fantastic. So let me, I do want to ask you about your being in Australia, and you've been in South Africa, and your name is Simon Says. Your channel is Simon Says. We kind of had this conversation about Duck Duck Goose / Duck Duck Grey Duck, but I'm interested to how did Simon Says, that game, that lingo, get all around the world? Like, you would think it would have started somewhere and just kind of hung out as a local thing, but it seems Simon Says seems to be like a universal thing that everyone is aware of. Or did you come across that somewhere later on?
Yeah, I don't even know where I first came across it. I mean, literally, you grow up and you just hear this Simon Says. So, and I just thought, oh, this is cool. I'll just jump on the bandwagon. So I have no idea where it came from.
Do you have kids by any chance?
I do. I've got a son. He's 18.
Do you use that to get his attention? Simon Says, go to your room, like when he was a kid. Did you, Simon Says, take the garbage out. Simon Says, mow the lawn. That's what I would have if I were you. Did you ever do that?
No, I can't say that. I told him to do this stuff, but not Simon Says.
Oh, what a missed opportunity.
Definitely a missed opportunity.
It is. I'll remember that. I think I'm going to try it.
Yeah, he's 18 and out. You said 18. I don't know if it's going to work anymore as he's 18, but
Just do it at work, at your job, or with your customers.
Simon Says, pay your invoice. Yeah. Simon Says, you're not getting more product if I don't get the money. Let's go.
Yeah. And do you remember those Simon games back in the 80s as well? That one where you press the
the
coloured
beep thing,
buttons?
yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like Simon's this name that comes up with these random bizarre things.
Oh, it's fantastic. I didn't know that was international too. Man, everything gets all over the world.
If I learned anything with this podcast, is that Pete doesn't understand how the rest of the world works.
No, I don't.
In your mind, is nothing exists outside of the United States.
Well, I just assumed. I thought everything. No, I
Third
just thought
world, everywhere.
I thought they had their own things. I thought you'd go somewhere else and you go. Then again, I've been to Europe and I've been to Mexico and I've been to a few. Everywhere I go to McDonald's. So I should have figured out.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
McDonald's rules.
Do you have McDonald's in New Zealand? Simon,
We've got heaps of McDonald's. It's probably the most, the most prolific restaurant, yeah.
Okay, give me one unique McDonald's item from New Zealand that we might not have here in America. Do you have kiwi burgers or something? Or
oh, they've got a kiwi burger. There we
They
go.
do?
Yeah. So it's got what has it got in it? It's got a fried egg. It's got a beetroot patty.
What?
The rest of the stuff. But yeah, fried egg and beetroot. They've been making a kiwi burger.
I don't blame you. We gotta. Is there McDonald's dot? What's the New Zealand top level domain?
NZ,
we gotta
I
find
guess.
this out.
And man, I always kind of wanted to go to New Zealand, but now I'm not so sure.
You don't like the kiwi
No
burger?
insulation
Man.
Beetroot. I don't even know what that is, but I don't want it. That's all I know. That's
Beetroot. You don't know beetroot? Oh, it's awesome, mate. It's like this sort of red. It
assumed
grows
it was
in the
red.
ground. It's like this red thing, and it's awesome. Trust me.
I know what a beet is, and I don't like beets, and I assume a beetroot is worse than a beet. That's my guess.
You still call them French fries or
Chips.
chips? All
Chips,
right.
yeah, they're
Fish and
part
chips.
of the
That's a Kiwi thing.
empire.
Big thing. Fish and chips.
Commonwealth. How do you feel about being part of the Commonwealth? Is that a little bit why do I have a king? You still have a king, right?
Yeah, we
That's
do.
kinda-
Yeah, we've got King Charles. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind
I
of
know.
weird. You're your
It's
own
kinda
thing,
weird.
and we got this king, I guess, that doesn't do anything, but he's still our king. So
Yeah,
cost
King
you
of
a
the
lot of
castle. Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, South Africa, I grew up being part of the Commonwealth, so yeah, I suppose pretty used to it. Commonwealth's okay. You sort of have Queen's birthday, etc. Woohoo! Extra holidays.
Extra holiday.
that's
That's
nice,
the
I
only
suppose.
benefit.
Simon, have you been to the United States before? By the way,
Yeah, I certainly have.
Which-
I've been
where have you
to,
been?
My brother lives in Seattle,
Oh,
and
All right.
I've been to San Fran. Yeah, I love US. Yeah, I'm definitely planning to visit again. I think you guys are super welcoming to guests.
How long is that flight? That's what I want to know.
Oh, man. I think it's not too bad because you're flying the other way. So what would be 12 hours? I don't know. Maybe a bit more.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
What does your brother sound like? Like as far as accent wise, we had a like if he lives in the United States now.
Yeah, he hasn't really gained much of a US accent because he's been there for about 30 years. Yeah.
See, it's not. See, I told you
There's
guys it's
something
not a
about
natural thing.
American accent that you just can't. People just don't grab
Nah,
onto. I
he's
feel
not got the American, no. Not at all. I mean, probably if he went back to South Africa, they'd think so. But for me, being my weird Kiwi, British, whatever South African accent that I've got, I don't pick up any Americanism in his accent at all.
Simon, we asked this of all our guests on the Technical Difficulties podcast. What is your biggest technical difficulty or biggest smart home fail that you have had?
I'll tell you what really frustrates me. The other day I had my Home Assistant going nicely, and I literally did some sort of an update, and it literally totally bricked the Odroid that I was running it on. I don't know what happened.
Doesn't that happen with all the Home Assistant updates? That's like that's like Home Assistant's like calling card, right? We crash when we
Not
update.
anymore.
Ta-da!
Not anymore. It used to
really?
be like that. Like literally, when I started 3 years ago, it was all the time. But the last year or two, I've been perfect. But no, I did this update.
They're really selling
totally
it, by
bricked
the way. I'm going to sign up tomorrow. Migrate everything over.
Well, Simon, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you had a good time. I enjoyed our chat here today. We're going to put links to your videos and your channel and everything in the description below. So look for that, everybody. And on behalf of Vince, on behalf of Brendan, on behalf of our guest, Simon, thank you for joining us. Thank you to our sponsor, Zeus. Go check them out at thesmartesthouse.com, and we'll check you all next time. See ya.
Awesome, guys. That was a lot of fun. Eh?